Oh boy, the Mario Galaxy movie is finally here. I can't wait to see Rosalina, one of my all-time favorite Mario characters, on the big screen at last. She was hyped up quite a bit in the trailer, so I bet she's gonna have a big... Wait, what do you mean? What do you mean Rosalina's not in the movie? Right at the start even? Then why even call it the Mario Galaxy movie? So yeah, the Mario Galaxy movie is finally here, and the reception to it is interesting to say the least. If you've been anywhere on the internet in the past few days, you've probably seen some of the headlines floating around for reviews for this movie, some of which are much more extreme than others. There's one I recall seeing where it claims this movie is worse than AI, which I personally wouldn't go that far, and also I do actually have to applaud Illumination for actually being one of the only animation studios who pretty actively speaks out against AI. Definitely doing better than Disney in that regard, that's for sure. When the original Mario movie came out back in 2023, I thought it was perfectly fine, nothing that special, but definitely inoffensive and mostly pretty cute as well. And I was also pretty surprised to see some deep-cut Nintendo references in that movie also, such as Punch-Out and Kid Icarus. But when I heard the sequel was gonna be called the Super Mario Galaxy movie and supposedly themed after Super Mario Galaxy, I immediately became very suspicious. Mario Galaxy 1 and 2 were actually two of my personal favorite Mario games of all time, and the first one is my favorite Mario game. But knowing how Illumination is, I personally didn't expect anything too spectacular from this project whatsoever and expected something probably on par with the first movie. Well, now that I've seen this movie, I wish it had been on par with the first one, because that still would have been better than what I had to witness here. I have seen this movie twice now in theaters to really solidify my thoughts on it, and I still cannot process how exactly the movie ended up like this. Given I've now had this product flash before my eyes twice now, I really just cannot wrap my head around how it ended up being so messy. What I would give to be in the writer's room at Illumination when this movie was being made, because I can imagine it was probably a mess based on what I saw here in this film. But I think most importantly of all, this is not a Mario Galaxy movie whatsoever, despite what the title says. It may be advertised as the Super Mario Galaxy movie, but oh boy, is it far from that, and we'll get into that. I know discourse surrounding this movie has been pretty divisive for a good bit now, and if you enjoyed this movie, more power to you. As long as it makes you happy, that's really what ultimately matters. For me personally though, I definitely do have a lot of thoughts, some good, some bad, and I want to discuss them here in this video, and personally why I don't really feel like this is a Mario Galaxy movie whatsoever. And also why I personally feel like this is a step down from the first film. I also do want to preface by saying I'm actually recovering from being sick while making this video. It seems whenever I go to the East Coast, since I was just at PAX East, I always get sick for some reason over there. This happened after I came back from Florida when working on my second story video about her terrible take on Oppenheimer, and now it's happening with me talking about the Mario Galaxy as well after getting back from Boston. Oh well. I had a good time there regardless. It was nice talking to different indie game developers that were up and coming, and also some student developers too. But with all that out of the way, let's talk about why the Super Mario Galaxy movie isn't actually a Mario Galaxy movie and why it's not a very good movie in general. The original Mario movie was somewhat of a pleasant surprise to me because while it wasn't anything grand or amazing by any means, it was still pretty solid and relatively serviceable for Nintendo fans, and it ended up being an at least okay stab at bringing Mario to the big screen. Also, Chris Pratt honestly did a much better job at being Mario than I expected from him. One thing I definitely have to give him credit for is that he does understand what the difference between on-screen acting and voice acting really is, and Chris Pratt does know how to project his voice into a character. And I actually think he did that pretty decently with Mario for what it's worth. It wasn't anything amazing by any means, but it was serviceable at the very least. And he even ended up giving Mario a slight Brooklyn accent, which I honestly did not expect him to do knowing Chris Pratt, so I'm glad he at least did that. And obviously Jack Black and Charlie Day really stole the show as both Bowser and Luigi. I think most people came away from that movie highlighting those two characters as the standout performances especially. But I think one particular thing that the first Mario movie did well that I think this movie definitely struggles with is having a clear, straightforward direction that it wants to take its story in. The first Mario movie is a very simple movie, and ultimately that does work in its favor. But I think with the Mario Galaxy movie, this is actually where we start to see this movie fumble, since I personally think it goes in way too many different directions all at once. We start off with Rosalina and the Lumas, which was shown in the trailer and does make sense to set this movie up with. But then suddenly Bowser Jr. comes up and Rosalina is now out of the picture, which is definitely something that irks me quite a bit about this film, and I'll touch on more later. And now we're seeing the Mario Bros meeting Yoshi randomly. The brothers pretty quickly seem to take a liking to Yoshi, which, you know, that's totally fine. Maybe we'll see them develop and grow a bond together. Oh, no, we're back to Rosalina now. And now her Luma is being sent off to find help because Rosalina was somehow captured by Bowser Jr. Oh, but don't worry about that, because now we're back with Yoshi, Mario, and Luigi at Princess Peach's party. And now they're here to make jokes about Mario being in love with Princess Peach, and finally Toad asks exactly what I've been wondering this entire time.
So some dinosaur just shows up and he's now part of the group. Cool.
Thank you, Keegan Michael Key. Finally somebody said it. Like I said, I have absolutely no problem with Yoshi being in this movie, but at least for me personally, it feels like they really rushed his intro and any kind of bond or development or relationship he has with the brothers. They pretty much instantly accept him, and that's kind of it. I understand this movie is only an hour and a half long and likely does have to keep things moving to a degree, but because of how this is set up, it really makes it hard to take it seriously when you see Yoshi and Luigi becoming instant friends and trolling Mario. They play it up in this movie constantly like they've been friends forever, but that's really not the case at all. They met just like 5 minutes ago. I would have liked to see at least a little more development put into Yoshi and his relationship with Mario and Luigi, since I think that would have made it far more believable, especially with how they play it up in this movie. And again, this entire sequence of events, starting from the capture of Rosalina going up to the party at Peach's castle, is crammed into the first 20 minutes of this movie. The pacing of this film is honestly pretty egregious overall, and that does seem to extend even beyond just the first 20 minutes. But I think another big problem I personally have here is that I feel like none of the returning characters from the first movie, that being Mario, Luigi, Peach, Toad, Bowser, and the others, have really seen any significant development or change in their character arcs since the events of the first film, although with one small exception. Mario himself especially feels like a shocking afterthought in this movie that is literally named after him, crazy enough, because he doesn't actually get to do all that much here. After Rosalina's Luma arrives at Peach's castle and informs everyone there that Rosalina has been captured by Bowser Jr., Peach sets off on her own to try and rescue her, leaving Mario and Luigi to run the kingdom by themselves, at least until Bowser Jr. arrives trying to get his dad back. After this, we basically see the movie's story get split between 3 sets of characters, that being Mario, Yoshi, and Luigi, Peach and Toad, and Bowser Jr. And for some reason, despite this literally being the Mario Galaxy movie, the film decides to give Mario himself quite literally almost nothing to do. The most we really see at all in regards to Mario himself in this movie is the writers apparently trying to push the idea that he has feelings for Princess Peach more to the forefront of the film, but even then they don't really go anywhere with that, since he and Peach aren't even together for most of the movie. And when they do get together again, they're rushed off to team up with Star Fox, which, believe me, we'll get to that, to finally take down Bowser and Bowser Jr. and save Rosalina. And then after that, Peach kisses Mario, so I guess the relationship worked despite us not seeing any development at all between the two of them throughout the entirety of this film. Yippee! I honestly don't think Peach or Bowser have seen much more development since the original film either, despite the fact both of them now each have a family member to bounce off of in this movie. In Peach's case, and a twist I think pretty much everyone saw coming going into this film, it's revealed that she and Rosalina are actually sisters, and their combined powers can save the universe. But despite the fact they randomly drop the fact that Peach somehow has had a long-lost sister this entire time that we're just now finding out about, even this somehow doesn't affect Peach's character arc in any way, which is completely mind-blowing. She's just like, oh, I've had a long-lost sibling this whole time I didn't know about? Well, let me hold hands with her, do some glowing magic stuff, and then we'll roll the credits. Sure doesn't affect me personally, just finding out about all this just now. You'd think finding out that she has a long-lost sibling after all this time would actually be something that affects Peach as a character, but nope, they somehow don't bother to change anything about her, even in the wake of a revelation as big as that one. It is absolutely baffling. As for Bowser, I think initially we actually do see some real changes to his character as opposed to the first movie, which at least to start was a better sign for me. This movie seems to initially push Bowser in a different direction, since now instead of being a purely evil, power-hungry villain, Bowser does genuinely seem to have turned over a new leaf here, and especially seems to have grown fond of Luigi due to participating in book clubs with him as well, which seems to have somewhat whittled down his bad side. And as the movie goes on, he seems to genuinely want to show that he's changed to Mario as well, and is even willing to participate in slave labor for a bunch of bees in Mario's place to show that he's a good guy now. Wow, this is such a great development in Bowser's character. I'm so glad we actually saw a real change in him since the first movie. Oh no, he's evil again now because of his son. Somehow, even when this film actually presents a real development to one of its characters from the first movie, it decides to immediately go back on that and erase all of that change just to make him the exact same again for no real reason whatsoever. It's so frustrating. It really comes off like nobody writing this film actually cared to give any of the characters a meaningful arc or change here. This is one of many things that I think the Sonic movies from Paramount actually do really well in comparison to the Mario movies from Illumination, despite both being family-oriented video game movies. Even though they're technically adapting a similar source material, the Sonic movies actually do put in the extra effort to give their characters real development over the course of the 3 films, and ultimately make you care about what happens to the characters in them as a result, in the way the Mario movies just do not or don't even bother to try to do. There's already a clear blueprint for how to make a video game movie and actually cause your audience to care about the characters in them, but Illumination can just not be bothered to do it whatsoever. It's so frustrating because in terms of work environments, who's overseeing their company, and also being against generative AI, Illumination is actually doing a lot better than likes of Disney, Paramount, or even in some ways Sony, who admittedly have come under fire in the past for overworking their animators for Across the Spider-Verse. But Illumination just does not put any effort into their movies at all, which is incredibly aggravating. Another personal gripe that I have with this movie, which I obviously hinted at with the start of this video, is that Rosalina is barely in this movie. Despite being a pretty notable part of the marketing for this film, and also just one of the most important aspects of the Mario Galaxy games overall. There is a reason that since her introduction to Mario Galaxy, she's become a mainstay of the Mario series. She's a character that a lot of people latched onto almost instantly, and for good reason. Her backstory is still, to this day, probably one of the most tragic things in the Mario universe. But for some reason, despite this quite literally being the Mario Galaxy movie, Rosalina is shafted for almost the entirety of this film. When I originally saw how this film started off with her being captured, pretty much right out of the gate when I saw this in my theater, I immediately realized this was not going to go the way I had been hoping. If you can't keep Rosalina, one of the most important aspects of Super Mario Galaxy, as an integral part of your Super Mario Galaxy movie, then ultimately it's not really a Super Mario Galaxy movie at all. One thing I have seen people complaining about specifically is that they dislike the inclusion of Fox McCloud in this movie, since he has more screen time than Rosalina, and this caused them to feel as though he was outright replacing her as a character. I personally don't quite agree with that, since I felt like for me, Fox was actually one of the better aspects of the film, and Glenn Powell absolutely killed it as that character. It's just really nice to finally see Star Fox come back in such a big way as this after 10 years of not getting a new game in the franchise. I am a big Star Fox fan, so I am obviously biased here, but it was just really nice to see something Star Fox related come back, especially in a big AAA blockbuster like this. And apparently the rumor mill has it that they're going to be making a new Star Fox game in the wake of him being included in the Mario movie here, so I'm very excited for that as well if that's real. Star Fox Assault is the best Star Fox game, by the way, don't at me. But I honestly think they easily could have included both Rosalina and Fox in this narrative at the end of the day, instead of just shafting Rosalina at the start of this film. It really makes no sense whatsoever to do this in a Mario Galaxy movie of all things. The people that got upset at seeing Rosalina done dirty like this are absolutely right to be upset. She's absolutely earned her spot as a fan favorite character, and so it was a big stab in the heart to see her shafted like this right at the start of this film, especially with how much she was hyped up during the marketing for this movie. I think the other big thing that has irked me regarding discourse surrounding this film is seeing people attempt to wave off any criticism about this movie by simply saying it's a kids movie. Like, what are you trying to say here then? That you think any movie made with kids in mind shouldn't be good? Are you saying that just because a piece of media is made for kids, it shouldn't provide well-written characters, a good narrative, and actually provide something for the audience to take away from its story? Just because a movie is made with children as its initial demographic doesn't mean the film can't at least try to be good or challenge its audience to think differently about the world around them. All art should really be doing that regardless of whether it's made with adults or kids in mind. The best kids media is the media that talks up to its audience and provides well fleshed out characters and stories, and ultimately leaves its audience with something to take away from it and doesn't talk down to them. Things like Avatar: The Last Airbender, Batman the Animated Series, the Lego Movie, the Spider-Verse movies, most of the Disney Renaissance films, Transformers 1, Gravity Falls, and plenty more are all made with kids in mind. But they all actually try to provide their audience with truly well-written stories that are a big reason why they're still talked about regularly to this day. The Mario Galaxy movie doesn't do that at all, and attempting to dismiss any criticism of it just by simply saying because it's a kids movie is honestly an insult to what kids media should be striving to be to begin with. If you think just because something is made for kids, it shouldn't have to try to tell a worthwhile story or provide fleshed out characters at all, then I don't really know what to say to you. Plenty of kids media have been doing this for a long time now and really setting the bar pretty high. To me at least, that is such a demeaning way to look at media in general, trying to act like it shouldn't have to put effort in just because of the demographic it's targeted to. I feel like this could also be an entirely different topic for a separate video as well. Since, to be honest, in recent memory, I've seen this used as an excuse for a lot of different kids media that pretty clearly doesn't try at all, with people attempting to dismiss any criticism of it by simply saying it's a kids movie. I feel like this is unfortunately something I've been seeing pop up more when it comes to media discourse surrounding movies made for kids. So if you'd like to see a video of me talking about why trying to dismiss criticism of kids movies that don't try at all by just saying they're kids movies doesn't make any sense at all, when in fact there's plenty of good kids media out there and also is rather demeaning, leave a comment down below. I feel like that could be an interesting video, especially with how prevalent this issue seems to be getting in media discourse. Overall, the Mario Galaxy movie is not really a Mario Galaxy movie in my opinion, and also just not a very good kids movie either. I honestly do think kids deserve something better than this, something that'll actually challenge their perception on the world around them. If you want to see a kids movie that actually does try, that is currently out in theaters as well, I recommend checking out Pixar's Hoppers, which I actually really enjoyed more than I expected. Pixar is definitely more hit or miss these days than I feel like they used to be, but Hoppers actually did surprise me quite a bit. I also do think Pixar has been a lot more consistent than Disney animation proper these days, since Pixar has made a lot of movies I do like, even in the 2020s, like Soul, Turning Red, Luca, Inside Out 2, and now Hoppers. Whereas Disney animation proper has only made 2 movies this decade that I actually like, that being Zootopia 2 and Encanto. Somehow Pixar has actually managed to outpace Disney even in the 2020s, wild. Of course, if you see the Mario Galaxy movie and you like it, that's great, and ultimately, what matters is it makes you happy. But for me personally, I really feel like kids movies can do a lot better than this. And I feel like they should do a lot better than this. Heck, video game movies are already doing better than this, with things like the Sonic movies really leading the charge on video game adaptations that actually make you care about the characters in them. So even if I didn't really enjoy the Mario Galaxy movie, I'm definitely looking forward to seeing the 4th Sonic movie next year, especially with Christian Bale playing Amy in that one. Definitely really good casting there. For my next video, I'll be discussing Jello Apocalypse and how I personally feel like he's contributed to the deconstruction of actually reasonable media discourse on YouTube. Jello is a topic I've wanted to cover for a while now, since I've observed for a long time just how terrible of a media critic he really is. That'll probably be a much longer video, so I hope you'll enjoy all the rather crazy things there are to go over with him, cause there certainly is a lot. Jello is quite the egomaniac. But regardless, I hope you enjoyed this video or learned something new from it. If you liked this video, be sure to give it a like and also consider subscribing as well. I do lots of videos like this in general, often talking about film, animation, gaming, and things like that. So if you like this video, you'll probably like the other videos I have planned as well. You can also become a YouTube member or patron to join my Discord and hang out with like-minded film and animation fans over there. Special thanks to all my current YouTube members and patrons who help keep me doing what I do here monetarily. I appreciate you all a ton. And I appreciate all of you for coming to the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it or learned something new from it. But for now, I've been Otterly Noah, and I'll see you on the otter side. Bye!